Fungi, friend or foe? It's a great question. We're going to dive into the fascinating and, yeah, sometimes pretty gross world of fungi. This is an entire kingdom of life that we just tend to overlook, but believe me, it shapes our world in some seriously unexpected ways.
Oh yeah, we've all seen this, right? You reach for a nice, juicy orange and, there it is, that fuzzy, greenish-blue stuff. And your first thought is just gross, and you toss it. I mean, who wouldn't? But there is so much more to this story than just spoiled fruit.
So what if I told you that this exact kind of thing, is also a lifesaver? I mean, seriously, the very same family of organisms that ruins our lunch is also responsible for saving millions of lives. And, hey, it helps make some of our favorite foods and drinks. It's this wild paradox that we're going to unpack.
All right, so first up, the unseen invader. Let's start with the side of fungi we're all a bit too familiar with, the one that just seems to pop up everywhere, invited or not.
I mean, think about it. They're literally everywhere. On our bread, our fruit, even on leather things like shoes or belts. They're just a constant, silent presence, always breaking stuff down. But what are they really? What makes them different from, say, a plant?
Okay, so to really get what's going on, we've got to meet the family. And trust me, it's a pretty diverse bunch with some really unique members.
A lot of people think fungi are basically plants, but they're not. They're fundamentally different. See, plants have chlorophyll, right? They use sunlight to make their own food. They're what we call autotrophic. Fungi? Nope, they have no chlorophyll. They're heterotrophic, which is just a fancy way of saying they have to eat other things just like we do. And that's why you find them munching on your bread and fruit.
Okay, first up in the family portrait, the molds. A perfect example is Rhizopus, the common bread mold. Check this out. It sends out these little root-like things, called rhizoids, that dig in and absorb all the nutrients. And then, you see those tiny black dots? That's the sporangium. It's basically a spore factory, just releasing them into the air to find the next slice of bread to call home.
Then we've got yeast. Now, unlike the molds that spread out everywhere, yeasts are these tiny, single-celled organisms. But don't let their size fool you for a second. These little guys are microscopic powerhouses. Honestly, some of the most important fungi on the entire planet when it comes to our economy.
And of course, the rock stars of the fungi family, mushrooms. We all know these, from the ones you buy at the store to the weird ones you see in the woods. But here's the cool part. What you see, the mushroom itself, is really just the fruit. The main part of the organism is this huge network called a mycelium that's growing underground. So yeah, they're the most visible part of the family, and definitely the most delicious sometimes.
All right, so we've met the main players. Now, let's totally switch gears. How did these things go from being a pain in the neck to becoming one of our most important secret allies?
The whole secret really boils down to one amazing process, fermentation. It's pretty straightforward, actually. You've got microorganisms like yeast. They eat sugar, and when there's no oxygen around, they turn that sugar into two things, alcohol and carbon dioxide.
Simple process, right? But the results are, well, delicious. That carbon dioxide gas, that's what makes bread dough rise and get all fluffy and light. And the alcohol, well, that's how we get beer and wine. All of it is just thanks to yeast having a little sugar for lunch.
And it's not just bread and beer. Fungi are crucial for making cheese, too. So bacteria usually get the process started by curdling the milk. But then, during the ripening stage, that's when the fungi come in. Think of them like little artists. They get to work breaking down fats and proteins. And that's what creates those incredible, complex flavors you get in something like a blue cheese or a creamy camembert.
Okay, let's circle back to that mold we started with. This right here is a close-up of something called penicillium. It's a super common mold, the kind you'd find on spoiling food, just like that orange.
But it's also responsible for one of the biggest breakthroughs in the history of medicine. See, back in 1928, a scientist named Alexander Fleming just happened to notice that this exact type of mold was killing off bacteria in one of his petri dishes. He knew right away he was onto something absolutely huge.
And he was right. That everyday food-spoiling mold produced penicillin, the world's very first antibiotic. I mean, it's hard to overstate this. This discovery completely revolutionized medicine. It saved untold millions of lives from bacterial infections that used to be a death sentence, a literal lifesaver, all from a bit of mold.
And of course, we've gotten really good at growing fungi on purpose for food. Mushroom farming is actually a pretty cool, sophisticated process. You start with a rich compost, then you add the mushroom seed, that's the mycelium we talked about, cover it all up, and then carefully control the conditions to get several harvests or croppings of fresh mushrooms.
Okay, but let's not get carried away. For all the amazing things they do, we absolutely cannot forget that fungi have a dark side, a really destructive side. They can be a truly formidable foe.
Yeah, I mean, beyond just ruining our lunch, they cause massive diseases that can wipe out crops and entire forests. Some of them are so poisonous they can kill you if you eat them, and they can cause some nasty human diseases too, like ringworm, which, by the way, has nothing to do with worms. It's a fungus. And this is where the danger gets super real for people. On the left, you've got your standard, safe-to-eat button mushroom from the store. On the right, a wild puffball. Now, some wild mushrooms are perfectly fine, but so many of them have poisonous lookalikes. And if you don't know exactly what you're doing, telling them apart is almost impossible. And making a mistake is a huge, huge risk.
Look, I really can't stress this enough. The message here is simple and it is critical. Never try eating mushrooms you just find out in the wild. They could be poisonous and it could even be fatal. It's just not worth the risk. The only safe way to eat mushrooms is to get them from a place you trust, like a grocery store.
So, we've seen both sides of the coin, right? The incredible benefits and the really serious dangers. Where does that leave us? What's the final verdict on our fungal world?
So, friend or foe? The real answer is they're both. It's not that simple. Fungi aren't heroes or villains, they're just a fundamental part of nature. They're master decomposers, which is essential for our planet, but yeah, that's the same thing that makes our food go bad. They're bakers, they're brewers, they're lifesavers. They're just a perfect example of how nature can be two things at once.
So you've got these organisms that are decomposers, creators, and healers all rolled into one. Their potential just seems endless. We're looking at them for everything from new medicines to sustainable building materials. The fungal kingdom still has so many secrets waiting for us. So the real question isn't just, what are they? It's, what will we discover with them next?